Shocking. Navajo Nation is crawling with Skinwalker. The researchers set off on a journey to the Navajo Nation in order to investigate the background of the Skinwalker curse as well as its capabilities. They emphasize the significance of shocking. Navajo Nation is crawling with Skinwalker. According to the Navajo Rangers, Skinwalkers are thought to be shapeshifters who make the ultimate sacrifice of a loved one in order to attain power. They relate numerous instances of Navajo people coming into contact with Skinwalkers. The investigators are hoping to draw a connection between the Skinwalker phenomenon occurring in the Navajo Nation and the findings they uncovered at Skinwalker Ranch, as it seems that Navajo Nation is crawling with Skinwalkers. During the course of their inquiry, they go to a house that was broken into by a shadowy figure with crimson eyes and horns, which caused the family to flee the house out of dread. They have further reason to believe in the existence of Skinwalkers as a result of their encounters in the abandoned house, which are filled with bizarre happenings and a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. The researchers express their excitement about diving into the origin and powers of the Skinwalker curse, as well as the access and interviews they have lined up with Navajo individuals who are eager to share their Skinwalker stories. In addition, the researchers state that they are looking forward to delving into the origin and abilities of the Skinwalker curse. They emphasize the significance of having a close working relationship with Navajo licensed and badged law enforcement, and the importance of being ready for anything that may come your way. The Navajo Rangers discuss their role in the investigation of supernatural and paranormal allegations, during which they explain that Skinwalkers are thought to be shapeshifters who are willing to sacrifice a loved one in order to obtain their ability. They also said that sightings of Skinwalkers are rather prevalent among Navajo people, despite the fact that this topic is rarely brought up in conversation. They also plan to collect data and proof that would allow them to make a connection between their discoveries at Skinwalker Ranch and the Skinwalker phenomenon that was occurring in Navajo Nation. During a conversation with a resident of the area, the woman recalled the times when she and her family were attacked by Skinwalkers. At first, the Skinwalkers took the guise of coyotes with malformed bodies. Later, however, they became more dangerous with shadow sightings and weird sounds. One of these instances involved a physical confrontation in which the woman's son fought off a creature with red eyes. The group conducts an investigation into a house where there were reports of a black figure with red eyes and antlers attacking the residents. Because they feared for their safety, the family had left the residence and gone elsewhere. During the course of their investigation of the deserted house, they come across a number of peculiar happenings, such as cameras toppling over and taking pictures of various rooms. They are also aware of a faint howling in the distance, which leads them to believe that there are Skinwalkers nearby. The crew detects a weighty and suffocating vibe within the house, which lends credence to their suspicion that Skinwalkers are present. The crew on Skinwalker Ranch has a meeting to discuss their purpose, which is to investigate the Navajo Nation in search of evidence of Skinwalkers. They are aware of the taboo nature of Skinwalkers, as well as the dread that is connected with speaking freely about them. The group has a discussion with a Navajo medicine man and investigates regions that are reported to have a high concentration of Skinwalkers. They find that the radiation levels are far higher than normal, and the spectrum analyzer displays some odd signals. The group also investigates a homestead that has been abandoned and encounters spooky occurrences there. They talk about the wind's erratic behavior, the existence of other realms and gateways, and their willingness to conduct additional research into incidents involving Navajo witchcraft and hauntings. The group has a meeting with a local woman, and she relates some horrific stories about Skinwalkers. These stories underline the traditional value of Navajo people's ties to the land. The crew finally undertakes a night investigation on Skinwalker Ranch, during which they hear unexplained noises and discover thermal anomalies, which compels them to leave the location because of the oppressive and negative energy present there. At this point, the group would like to welcome John Dover, a retired Navajo Ranger who has been investigating supernatural occurrences on Navajo Nation for many years. It is considered impolite to discuss Skinwalkers, and it is widely held that uttering their names will cause them to invade one's personal space. The group intends to carry out research and make observations so that they can report relevant information to Skinwalker Ranch. They discuss the importance of working with Navajo law enforcement, as well as the difficulty of encouraging people to freely discuss their experiences with skinwalkers, owing to the risk of suffering social disgrace or something much worse. In general, they are quite excited to learn more about the history of skinwalkers as well as their abilities and to collect important data for their inquiry. When they suddenly heard voices, they noticed a spike in the frequency at 1.5 gigahertz. They then began to search the spectrum for any anomalous activity that might have been occurring. They start to get the impression that they are being observed, so they make the decision to do some investigations on the mesa throughout the night. They travel to a region that is thought to be teeming with skinwalkers, but they stress that their primary objective is to collect data for scientific research rather than actively looking for the animals. They discover evidence of destruction as they look about a building that has been abandoned. In the meantime, Andy and Paul are conducting an investigation at the peak of Satan's Butte. They are utilizing thermal cameras and RF analyzing equipment in order to keep an eye out for temperature shifts as well as strange activity in the radio spectrum. They experience severe gusts of wind, yet despite this, they are able to observe a peculiar signal at 900 megahertz that has a waveform pattern that repeats itself. They are still searching the spectrum for any other signs of activity. In this specific episode, they express amazement at the fact that the Navajo Nation deemed their inquiry to be actionable and commend the team for their efforts. They also show gratitude to the team for all of their hard work. After speaking with influential members of the community, the group sets off on an exciting journey to Satan's Butte, which is well known for being a gathering place for skinwalkers. They use a spectrum analyzer during the night investigation that they are conducting and discover some weird activity in the 900 megahertz area. In general, the experience has been enlightening and useful, not only to the team, but also to the community as a whole. Have you subscribed yet? Be sure to do so for more thrilling skinwalker discoveries. They also spoke about the abilities that skinwalkers have, such as being able to change their appearance and run like animals. They also talk about interactions between law enforcement authorities and skinwalkers. Butte Paul admits that there have been thousands of years of human experience surrounding skinwalkers, despite the fact that he is skeptical of them. The group then travels to Satan's Butte, a location with a shady past, where they speak with a Navajo medicine man who is of the opinion that the area is a hub of activity involving skinwalkers. They highlight the risks of coming into contact with a skinwalker, as well as the power of skinwalkers to poison or kill humans. The group is getting ready to conduct an investigation utilizing a spectrum analyzer in the area. The group had also made the decision in the past to carry out an investigation throughout the night on Satan's Beat, which is a location notorious for the gathering of several skinwalkers. They monitored and listened in on the strange activity that was taking place in the region with the use of a spectrum analyzer. However, the weather conditions rapidly deteriorated, and as a result, they had fears for their own safety. As a result, they decided to call off the investigation. Later on, they were invited to take part in an ongoing investigation being conducted by the Navajo Nation into an infestation of skinwalkers in the house of a family. With the assistance of knowledgeable guides who were more in tune with the surrounding environment, the team was able to collect objective data. They began to hear peculiar sounds and they observed temperature anomalies, both of which contributed to the guide's conclusion that a skinwalker was in the area. The conclusion of the investigation was ultimately a source of relief for the family because it caused the attacks to cease. As a direct consequence of this, the government provided the family with on-location police security. The group shares a sense of fulfillment due to the great influence that they have had in the community of the Navajo Nation. Strange beings found on Strange Island. Aliens. Click on the next video now to find out more.